All right, welcome to the You Bet Smart podcast. I am Scott, and I am joined by my player prop profiteer, my partner in crime, Jake. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Scott. I'm stoked to be with you guys today on another fine Sunday.
Nice. And then we also have Chris, the producer. He was our Google bitch about 10 episodes ago, but that lasted about an episode, and he pretty much runs everything now. He just like set up all the video equipment, and I mean, you know what you're doing, and we don't. Chris, how you doing?
I guess I'm camera bitch now.
No, I think you're a podcast bitch.
Okay,
you're pretty much run the whole show.
I'll take it.
I mean, we have to just kind of say, honestly, what I've realized is like we gotta just do whatever because you have the bright ideas of everything. Were you in production before?
No, I just watch a lot of stuff, and I've always, whenever I watch a podcast, I've always noticed like, oh, I like the way that's shot, or I don't like the way that's shot. They could change this or change that. Our only problem is we're trying to do this on a little bit of a budget, so we don't have like a production team or the most expensive cameras or set of like a big podcast studio. So trying to get all the angles and stuff, but I think if we put out a couple shorts with these angles, it'll look better than what we were doing before. So.
If you're talking about our budget, we're not going to pay you anytime soon.
Yeah.
Just want to let you know that because especially with our bets lately, I mean, we're not getting anybody.
Baby.
But yeah, I mean, we appreciate like all the stuff that you do, all these different angles, and we spent a lot of money on these podcast arms.
Yeah,
the arms. So
yeah,
we don't have any money anymore.
I was happy to get an arm.
Yeah. Well, you had the first arm.
If things don't work out for us, I'm sure they could use you in the porn industry.
Absolutely. The lighting in here feels like it's the porn industry. It feels like that documentary on Netflix. What was it? What did it's called I was just talking about that.
What was it about?
Before? It's about the porn industry.
Oh, absolutely.
On Netflix. Have you seen that documentary?
I haven't seen it, but I think now I'm picturing it like in, when you're searching for something like it and seeing it up there.
It's called Money Shot.
Oh,
that's what it is.
That's a great name.
And you hit the money shot with this new lighting and camera angles.
Well,
all right. How do we come?
Hopefully I don't end up on the couch.
Well, that's what we got the couch for. I know this little room is like looking more and more like a porn studio. Huh? The funny thing is on the last interview, not the one with AK. We're going to give a shout out to AK from the Millie Goats and Eric with Vegas Bench Warmers. Not that one. But on the last interview
with Brandon,
just a random one that we had to do. Okay, sorry, Brandon. I had to pee so bad. And I mean, I had to, when you have to pee and then like something lets you know you have to pee.
I got to.
You understand what I'm saying?
Like last episode
where you can't stand up or
Yeah.
Everybody is like, what do you either got to pee or you got to do a money shot? What do you got to do?
Exactly.
I had one of those, but then luckily by the end of the episode, it went down and I could stand up and go to the bathroom.
So last night I was at a comedy show. I went with my wife and my buddy Mike and his wife, but it wasn't at like the improv or anything. It was at like a community center. So we go in and they're serving alcohol. We go in and the benches that where you're sitting had one entrance up the middle. So if you had to go to the bathroom, you literally had to walk down the center thing right where the comedian was and then walk right past them. So like two people went and they started making fun of him. And then like an hour in, I was like, I gotta pee. I waited like 20 more minutes and I was like, shit, this isn't ending. So instead of walking up the front, I crawled over the railing. And when I hopped over the railing, one of my feet got caught. So I was standing like almost in a split position with my foot caught on the railing. And I just pulled it off real fast and then went and used the restroom and then came back and watched the last like 15 minutes just from the side. Cause I was like, I'm not crawling back up that thing.
Is it anybody that we would know?
No, but they were pretty good. It was like,
it was like local people.
So it's in Yorba Linda, like they have a community arts center, like works for the city. It's something that they put on there. And it was just like they've been on some stuff. I guess one of the guys have been on Conan and doing stand up on there. They're pretty funny. Yeah.
I had a similar thing happen when I went and saw Mark Norman at the Brant Improv. I like he's like one of my favorite comedians, and I was like building it up and building it up. I'd like dragged my wife to the show, and I was like, this is what I've wanted to see. I wanted to see him live in stand-up. And I didn't go to the bathroom like during the opening acts. I drink. If I'm on a night out, I'm gonna drink. And then like 20, 30 minutes into his act, I had to piss. And we're in the front row.
Oh,
we're
man.
like right on the stage at the Brea Improv. And I held it for like 30 minutes, like miserable. And the thing that sucks is he even commented, he like said something about how I'm not laughing, but I think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He said this I forget what the joke was, but he like commented about I'm not laughing because every time he says a punchline, I'm just like, I'm trying to hold my piss in.
Is it like that one episode
Yeah.
that you went on the
Is that just-
AK and the Millie Goats where you weren't laughing at all, or what?
Is that your thing? You're like, I know
Where
how
I
I'm going
don't
to show
laugh.
these people that I like them. I'm not going to laugh.
It's like on the last episode too. Like we got off a little like I'll pull the curtain behind the veil. I on the last episode,
Yeah.
Chris, you made a joke.
Yeah.
And I'm like sitting there just smiling, not laughing. Everybody else is laughing. Then we get off camera and you're like, what, you didn't think that was funny?
No, it was the fat goalie. I asked if the fat goalie, and Jake was laughing and AK was laughing. And I looked at you and you're just like stone faced. And I was like, oh, fuck, did I interrupt something he was about to say?
Not at all. For some reason, I think like I have this like weird thing like you shouldn't laugh on mic because I think it sounds weird if everybody's laughing, but I'm going to get over that. Like that's ridiculous to think. So I've purposely been not laughing at people's jokes, like trying to hold it back, but like that's a dumb thing to do.
Yeah, from here on out, you should start laughing.
Like super obnoxiously. Comedy.
I kind of have like a crazy laugh. I think it's you know who it is? It's Stavros. Stavros has
Yeah.
a laugh where sometimes I'm like, dude, your laugh's a little annoying. Like I'm focusing more on your laugh than like than what you're saying. So I'm thinking in my head, like, oh, I don't want to be annoying.
Yeah.
And I think I have an annoying laugh.
No.
But I just should laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm like holding back laughter.
Is it like a weird high pitched giggle or something? Like
It's something like that, like pole position. It's a little bit like that. So I'm still not gonna laugh. I say I'm gonna laugh, and I'm not gonna laugh. But we talked about it. Like, we do need to give a shout out to AK from Millie. He was on the last episode, and then also Eric from Vegas Benchwarmers. Thanks for coming on. That was really good. AK called out a few things in hockey that happened. We were like texting back and forth. I went to the Kings Edmonton game right after the episode, and he called things that happened in that game. And I don't know, he had like really good coverage of the NHL playoffs. So did Eric.
Mhm.
Eric had some good stuff and like also some funny stuff in there.
Yeah, it was nice because they both were very knowledgeable of what they were talking about, but completely different in the way they talked about it. I like the like juxtaposition of like both very funny and both and knowledgeable, but in different ways. I thought they were both great interviews. I got a lot of good feedback about both interviews too. And I put that short up for the goalie one on YouTube, and that got like 1,200 views and a bunch of likes. And then I put up two that Eric did. I forgot which two they were. They both got like 700 views and a bunch of likes too. So, which is pretty good considering we only have like 67 subscribers to get like basically 3,000 views on those videos and like over 200 likes, which is over the
Wow.
Yeah. So we're doing something right. I put out another one and it didn't do anything. So,
I think it was about James Harden not going to strip clubs.
yeah, that was
And
one
he
of them. And,
didn't go today.
Yeah.
Did they end up winning? What happened with
They
the
did. They did.
Philadelphia one?
I think Harden made a big three. So he got back home to Philly. And where's this series actually? I don't
It's
know.
in Philly now.
It's in Philly now. Yeah. So he
Yeah.
got back. So maybe there's no good strip clubs in Philly either.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you could find them.
Yeah. Because he had a good first game and then bad second and third game. I think he was like 5 of 28 in the games 2 and 3. And then today, I mean, before we started this, he had like 21 at halftime. And I know he made a huge 3 in overtime. So
In overtime and winning overtime.
I just checked it on my phone real fast and that's what it said. So I haven't watched it, but
So I think that series is tied 2-2.
Yes.
I'm going for Philly in that one. I want them to get on that one. So let's move on to the $10,000 bankrolls, even though I know we probably don't want to. What how you doing, Jake?
I've fallen off a cliff, to be frank. We're still up. I was up about 8,152 on my $10,000 bankroll, so about 80% before today's. I haven't put in all the not all the games are done, but I'm off to a bad start for today. So far before today's recording, today, I'm up about 80, a little over 80%.
You're up over 80%.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm around 95% before recording today. But yeah, I feel the same way because I don't know how long ago that was. It's probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago where I was like 215% or something like that, and now I'm at 95%. So
Yeah.
my personal bankroll from 10,000, it went up to 32,000, 33,000. It's now down to like 19,000. So I know it's up 95%, but it has dropped like over 33% in the last 3 weeks, which is insane.
I don't think you guys are the only ones, because like I'm on Twitter and TikTok, and I'm seeing a lot of that from people. Like a lot of people saying, this, for the baseball season starting, that's kind of normal, like to get your feeling for get your filters right. But I'm seeing a lot of people saying that are handicappers saying they're not doing good to start like they normally do to start the year. So
it's across the board.
Yeah,
it is, because like I know that us handicappers, we kind of based off like the same systems in a way. So like we're gonna be doing similar things, and if it's not exact, it's similar, and I can feel that from everybody. Like everybody's not
even because I don't see a lot of the bets that you guys are putting out. They're putting out different bets than you guys, and not even opposite of you, just not touching games that you guys are touching, and they're losing the games that they're touching too. So there's just something going on. But baseball, I would think it's because of the new rules. It's just very hard to pin down.
Maybe.
Am I wrong?
I don't 100% agree with that, just because like with our algorithm for team bets, so for over unders on team bets, it hasn't like, I'm not doing like a ton of unders. It's not, you know what I mean? So like the new rules show that you should probably go into the overs, and there's more overs than unders. All of the first inning bets are yeses and not nos. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think the interesting thing is, so whenever this happens in the football season, and the bookies are like, they really want to put out there in the media that they did a bad week. So for instance, like anytime Vegas has a week where they lost money, they always put out an article where they lost money. And that always coincides with when I lose. Whenever I lose in the NFL is when Vegas puts out an article like, I lost money. Vegas lost money this week. And they do that because they lost money, but then they want to put out, it's almost like an advertisement.
It's marketing.
It's
right?
marketing.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we lost a bunch of money. So it like tells people like, come and bet. We're losing money. The weird thing is like during this time, they don't do that. But I would bet on this. If I was a betting man, I would bet that Vegas has been losing money over the last like 2-3 weeks.
I think that's a good bet. If you were a betting man,
There's a lot of value in that.
You're in California, so you can't be a betting man.
Oh yeah, well, I'm not going to, but wherever I see value, I'm gonna bet. By the way, I'm gonna say value a lot during this podcast. All right, so your $10,000 bankroll, Jake, is at
before today, because I always do it a week at a time. It's at 18,152. So up 8,152. Yours is up
9,500, and so my bankroll is at 19,500 at the start of today, before the day started, and today is, what is today? Sunday,
Sunday,
May 6th.
May 7th.
One of these days in May.
Exactly.
May the force be with you. Combined, we're up. I think that would be 17,000.
17,652.
So we're up 17,000.
And we're pretty bummed about it.
No, we're definitely bummed about it because we were up almost 30,000
Yeah.
at one point, and so we're at 17,000. We're up. What I want to ask you, Jake, and we can slide right into notes because we're gonna do some notes. The notes usually is about the podcast, like how can we improve the podcast? What do we hear from the people out there? Like how can we improve?
Yeah.
I have a note about our system.
Okay.
And I want to know, so we have like a strategy set up to where we raise with our $10,000 bankrolls, we raised it up from $100 per star to $200 per star because we were doing so good.
Yeah.
And we're coming down so much to where, when should we, are we getting close to where we should go back down?
That's a great question. And out of bankroll preservation, I don't know. In hindsight, we wish we would have done that during this losing streak, right?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had any issue at all. But it's easier to reflect on it now. And in hindsight, I've been reflecting on it because I know that every time during baseball season at the very start, I've historically started off terrible. And I purposely have tried to put 1 star. But I've even had bad losses at the 1 star. I can't even lower it anymore. I could do half stars, whatever, but it gets a little ugly when we send out our picks. So to answer your question, I don't know. I think that's something worth considering right now as a way of bankroll preservation to basically slow the decline, regroup, watch the ascent again, and then take the I don't know, regulator off it or whatever.
And to let everybody know, I think we may have touched on it in one of the podcasts, but we set up the I think it's called a stop limit in stocks.
Yeah.
Where like if it goes underneath a certain point, it automatically sells. Is that a stop limit? I think it's a stop limit. Let's just say it is. Whatever it's called.
Stop loss.
A stop loss.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Stop loss. We set it at 30,000. And so we're at 37,000. We said when we were up around like 60,000, we said if it goes down below 30,000, we're going to reduce our bets, and we're at 37,000. So we're still 7,000 from the stop loss that we set up.
Yeah.
But it still feels like we should we should do it soon, huh?
I don't know. I know I'm feeling the same thing. It's really important to preserve your bankroll, and risk aversion is a huge part of it too. I feel like my algorithm is just starting to turn around, but I look like I'm having a bad day today. So I don't know. I think that's a great question. So if you're feeling that, I'm all on board, to be honest. So
I think we should stick to our rules.
Okay.
I was just feeling it. We always do.
Yeah.
Honestly, like when we get off mic, we're gonna be like, no, we have rules.
Yeah.
Like that's what the rules are for.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to talk about it because it just like sometimes like your emotion comes into it.
Yeah.
And you like feel like we should do something different. But the point is like you just stick to the rules. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is something that's really important to reflect on, because it's not always like your account just doubles. It's not like you always go up in any market. So when you come down, that's the part that you really have to consider, that you really reflect on your strategy and think, am I doing anything right? And it's like, we've been doing this forever and we win more often than we lose. But obviously we have our downturns too. So it's just like reality for anybody that's in any market. So
coming from somebody outside of the system, I gotta look above the arm over here. What do you think, Chris, about this?
I think definitely, stick to the rules.
Gotta stick to the rules,
that's in all investing. that's one of the keys is you set, all your parameters that you want to do and don't change them just because of how you're feeling. You got to keep with what you set out when you had a sober frame of mind. Not that word
before the podcast.
Yeah, because the podcast get a little not sober. But if you have because when you set out investing to start, you got a sober frame of mind of what you want to do. And then depending on what goes on is when, I mean, anybody that doesn't even invest, if you go to Vegas and you're playing blackjack and you have like these certain rules that you have, like, if I get up to $2,000, I'm going to cash out. Or if I lose $1,000, I'm not going to pull another grand out. But then your emotions get involved and you're like, well, I had a bad run. Like, that's why I lost 1,000. So I'm going to pull out another 1,000. And then before you know it, you lose that. And then you could get in a spiral where you're like, one more 1,000 I'm going to pull out. And so I kind of think it's the same philosophy that you got to stick to what your original thought was about when you should change anything.
I agree. Emotionally sober is what you're saying.
Yeah, not
like
yeah. There's when I mean sober frame of mind, I mean like clarity of thought before anything that has happened might make you emotional about it and change what you should do.
And we're going to do that. We're talking about it because we're on a podcast and talking about stuff and we need to address what's going on.
Yeah.
But we're going to do what our rules are set out.
Yeah. We're talking about the elephant in the rooms. Might as well bring it up.
Absolutely. That elephant in the room needs to start winning some bets. What other notes? Do we have any other notes for the podcast?
Yeah. I wanted to bring up a website that we are not promoting. We're not getting paid to promote, I should say. There's a site called unabated.com that Scott found. You find a lot of amazing websites, by the way, but this site is great for shopping around for player prop lines. I know you use it for team lines and stuff, and I'm not I just literally started using it, but we'll probably have to subscribe to it. Even without subscribing, there's still a lot of benefit, so you can just shop around and find the different lines for different player props. And I don't know. I know you use it a lot too, right?
I've been using it a lot lately. I like it with the line movement. I mean, we had an episode a few ago with Mike Fiddle from the Advantage podcast, and he gave us like a little master class on line movement betting. And that's the one type of betting that I don't do. I do system betting, which is like ingrained into, I use Action Network for that. And then also we have I'm drawing a blank right now, but it's
Sportsline,
not Sportsline, but
AccuScore.
Yeah, but what would that be called when you model? Thank you. Okay. Yeah, you helped me out. So with model betting, like that's kind of what like encapsulates our whole system. So we focus everything off of model betting, and then it funnels down to other things. You also do a lot of trends. I sometimes do trends. I like add that in on the end. But the one thing, also before I should say this, the big thing that we've talked about it before, but the big thing that we do is we also do betting that is with the bank. I mean, we touched on it earlier in the podcast, but we bet with Vegas, and that's like reverse line movements and certain strategies like that. But the one thing that we don't do is line movement. And Michael Fiddle came on here and he like taught us about that. And that is what I've noticed with unabated.com is that with line movement, you have to see what the market movers are going to do. Mm-hmm. So like early on, you may have noticed if you're like signed up with us, we've been having a lot of team plays that are like the night before, which we haven't done in the past. And we're doing that because we're finding the market is wrong in the beginning, and then the movement is showing us where the money should go and where the line is going to go. So we're getting value on the lines.
So yeah, speaking of line movement, you've been putting out the bets a little bit earlier than normal, right? So it's like you put out the Philly Boston game and it was +3. Philly was getting 3 last night when you put it out, right? Mm-hmm. And then when I got home late, I was going to bet it. Then I fell asleep, got up this morning and it was 2.5. And then I was like, well, I kind of want to text you, maybe see, like, because that's starts getting the territory where like maybe don't bet it. And then I took a shower and got out and it was 2. And then it might have got all the way down to plus 1.5. And Philly ended up winning. So there's something there in that line movement that why the bet was moving in that way. So you had it right at first. And then to me, when I'm watching that, I'm like, oh shit, he's really got it right now. But like, do I bet it at now 1.5? Like, because what did Michael say the most common scores are? 1,
5 for basketball.
Yeah.
It's 5.
5 is the most common.
-5 and 5 is a
Yeah.
big one.
Yeah.
So right when it kind of hovers around 5 is a big one. But the thing is what he goes for is the CLV, like closing line value. So if we got it at 3 and it closed at 1.5, that's a huge percentage difference for closing line value.
So in the future, if I see that, if it's at 3 and I forget to bet it, I wake up in the morning and that line has moved down to 2 plus 2. Is it what? I know you can't do it because it's like you got to look at what the exact game is, why the line is moving. But let's take that game last night or today. What would you suggest I should do in that?
I suggest that you get it at the line that we give it.
And then if I can't text you, obviously,
then you shouldn't do it.
Okay. Then
honestly, you shouldn't do it.
I didn't do it, and it cost me money.
Because
no, I'm just joking, but that's
because that is the value. The value is in the line move, and if the line's already moved, then the value's gone.
And
I do.
And let's say that goes back down to, let's say I got it at 1.5. That game was a 1-point game. Philly won by 1, I believe. So that's, a bucket here or there, and it went to overtime too. So I'd have to see what happened at the end of that game. They could have lucked out and they could have been down 3 and then Harden hit a 3 or something. So
yeah, it's all about when you're in the line movement game. If you're in a system play doesn't take line movement into account. If you're in a model play, it doesn't. It's only in line movement. If you're in a reverse line movement, if you're betting with the bank, if you're figuring out where Vegas wants to bet, doesn't matter. In fact, when you're betting with the bank, if you're betting with Vegas, it really doesn't matter. Like if the line moves to 3 and 1.5 and it's a line movement, it's a I'm betting with Vegas bet, you should still take the 1.5. But because that's the whole point of that system. But with line movement, you have to get the bet that is with it. Another thing, like what I wanted to talk about, I don't know if it was now. It's not now, but like I wanted to talk about this a little bit later about we'll get into it later. I wanted to go over our system and the lines and like how important it is to get the lines that we're putting out there, because that is kind of like one of the most important rules. It's like,
can I bring up something on that?
Yeah.
Okay, just the other day, Bailey Falter, I recommended him at -124 at FanDuel, and Chris pointed out that it was -167 on Bovada. So that's -124 has a break even of 55%. -167 has a break even of 62.5%. So that's like a 7.5% difference just shopping around from one site to the other. You're literally taking the same exact bet, but you're getting a 7.5% difference. Like that is huge.
What should the difference be that I don't bet it then? Because I'm only using 2 sites, and one of them is Bovada, which usually has pretty good lines, which was weird to see, and odds. It was weird to see it like that far, because you said it was 127, then you said another site was 147, and I texted you that it was 167.
Well, 124.
Yeah, 124, whatever. Yeah, and then you said another one was like 146.
I think I saw 150.
Yeah, and then I said, well, it's 167 for me. I didn't bet it, of course, but what, like we've gone over this before, but what percent difference should I not bet it?
That's a great question. I honestly would recommend anybody that's having that question to feel free to reach out and ask me personally. If I'm recommended at -124, I would feel comfortable taking it as high as like -145. Personally, at -167, I would stay away from that.
But it depends on each bet.
It
right?
does.
Can I ask something here? instead of putting out it's at 145 at FanDuel or whatever, what if you guys put don't bet it over 155 minus 155 instead?
Or you can put 2. You can put this is the
Where
best
it's
place
at.
you can find it,
Yeah.
and then this is the cutoff point.
That's added work for you guys, but it doesn't seem like, because you got the numbers in front of you, is it that much of an added step to add in don't bet it over this?
For me, no.
Okay.
I don't know about, I'm not going to talk for you, Jake, and the
Yeah.
player props. For team bets, it's not.
Is that a good question?
It's a very good
That's
question.
a great question.
Here's
I'm
a-
listening. And I'm
gonna
thinking.
say,
So
I have the answer. I'm just
Okay.
like hesitating on saying it. This is what I do. And I do this because I don't research the player prop bets, but I bet them. And I don't take anything that I don't get. So what I'm saying is, what was that bet? 1 minus 127?
minus 124
On what site?
on FanDuel.
It was on FanDuel. If I don't have an account on FanDuel and I can't get that bet, and on my site, the best I can find it is at like 136.
Oh, really? So
But don't bet
that's like what, 7? What is it, like 10? How many percent is that? Like
It's 12 points, but then the
Yeah,
percentage
12
is like
points.
1.5
Yeah.
maybe for something like that. I don't do it. That's for shit that I don't research
okay.
myself. So like anything that I'm taking in that is not, I am not getting the exact line, I don't bet it.
Okay.
This is by the way, this is not you, but this is a personal bankroll decision rule that I have. And everything that I do on team bets, obviously, like I know what the cutoff is. So we probably should put a cutoff on there. But this gets into what I was going to talk about later, but I'm just going to talk about it now. It's so important to have like 15 accounts. I know that sounds ridiculous. I know that you're sitting out there listening and you're like, oh, I can't do that. So what I wanted to talk about is I'm just going to get into it now. I really wanted to show like the progression of the sports bettor or the You Bet Smart client. So because what we're doing is like we're asking people to sign up for now $10 a month, and they sign up and they're building something. What I've noticed is a lot of our clients out there are like in their 20s. They're like younger guys. They're like thinking, and they are guys. We'll get into the MMA fighting later. but they are guys and they're thinking of they know they like something, and they know they like sports, and they know they like gambling. They probably like investing, and they're thinking of like growing something. And they're in their early 20s, so this is the time where you have to grow it. If you're starting out with like $1,000, I'm just gonna say 1,000 because I think a lot of our clients are around that range. We talk about our $10,000 bankrolls, which is a hypothetical on in my personal bank account. It's different. I think we need to start talking about clients that are attracted to what we're doing, and I feel like they're starting out with like $1,000 and doing like $10 bets or $20 bets or whatever your unit size is. And in that situation, I want to go over the overall premise of what we're trying to do. The overall premise of what we're trying to do is show you that this is a long-term investment game.
Mm-hmm.
This is sports investing long-term.
Yeah,
Like
very long lifetime.
A lifetime investment. So if you're 22 years old out there and you're starting out and you have, you can convince your wife or girlfriend, or maybe you're by yourself,
Mom or dad, to give you some money.
I'm just going to put $1,000 on FanDuel. That is just the start, and it needs to grow into that. So anytime that we put out a bet that you can't get the pick, you shouldn't do it. Michael Fiddle actually said it on the podcast when we had him on. When he started out in like 2012 or 2013, if he couldn't get a line that his handicappers told him that he'd get, he didn't bet it. No matter what. That's a rule starting out. So if you can't get the line, my honest suggestion is don't bet it. Only bet the ones that you can get where we're saying that they're coming out. Now, we put a little disclaimer at the bottom that says that you could reduce your bet. If you're feeling confident in it and you want to reduce it, like, oh, you can override these things, but like you should really consider especially if it's minus 120 to minus 160.
Yeah,
like, it's ridiculous.
So if you only have $1,000 and you're saying bet 1%, so that's a $10 bet per star. So on average, a $20 bet per game. But you guys are putting out 15 bets, but I can only get 4 bets per day. Can I bet like I have more money? Like raise my my bet per star like I have like $2 or $3 grand?
The answer is yes, because that's what I did. So what I did early on when I was getting the lines that I wanted to get, I bet 5%. So when I started out with $1,000 bankroll 20 years ago, what I did was, and I know that goes beyond what I've said, my boom that I did in 2008 or 2009, whenever that was, where I turned $100 into $20,000. But even when I was like, when I had a bankroll, I started sports betting when I was like 21 years old, actually earlier than that. But the point of this is when I started doing 5%, I did 5%. I didn't do 2 stars, which is 2%. I didn't do 1 star. I did 5%. That's the max that you should do. So you're saying, should I increase it?
The reason I'm asking that is because, your bank account fluctuates a lot. Like if you literally just went off of 1% per bet, I mean, after 3 bets that you make in a day, then if you're literally like, if I have $1,500 and then so I start with $15 per star. If I make 5 bets, I'm down to, if you went literally off of what is in your bank account, then you'd be down to like $14 per star. So it's like, it fluctuates up and down that line. So what you're saying is like never go over 5% though. Like try to, but literally, if you want to do this correctly, like literally stay to the 1% per star and based on what your bankroll started with, right?
Yeah, and never go above 5%. Jake,
yeah. I mean, everybody's got a different risk tolerance, so it's going to be different for everybody. If somebody doesn't like the volatility of this market, then always decrease the stars and just do it at a smaller percentage. But some people want to grow it faster and they're going to want something closer to 5 stars. So it really depends on the person. You obviously want disposable income. This should not be money that you depend on. So it's just like money that you have that you're not doing anything with, and it's an alternative investment. You basically just want to, I would do your percentage on that bankroll, and then personally, once I double my bankroll, then I double my bet size. But then if I come down, like let's say my bankroll gets cut in half, then I'm going to want to lower my bet size. If you want to be more tight, then you don't have to. I mean, it's really subjective. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I personally do because I am a customer of Jake's player props. I'm a customer. Like I get them just like everybody else does. I don't really I know what your algorithm is and I know everything that has to do with it, but I'm not doing the day in and day out. So I am a customer of your player props.
Yeah.
This is what I personally do. I do not take a bet that I can't find that you put out.
Yeah.
So if it says minus 135 and it's minus 145, I don't do it.
Yeah.
If I can get it at minus 135 in one of my accounts, which at the point that I'm at now, having so many accounts, I get a lot of them.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to put myself in the perspective of a new client that is coming on and can't get all of the picks.
Yeah.
Because they only have Bet US and Bet Online, but they don't have all these other accounts.
Exactly.
I would not take the bet, but I would take them at 5%. I know I should not say that. I know I shouldn't say that, but any bet that you do, this is personally, and you don't have to do this out there, but any bet that you do that I find the exact line that you put out, I bet it at 5 stars.
I mean, that's what we used to do. The only reason,
not saying do that.
Yeah.
but I'm just saying that's what I do.
We used to do that. In all honesty, we don't recommend it because there's so much volatility in the market, and most people can't withstand that volatility.
Yeah, I see some crazy people that are handicappers out there like, this is my 10-unit lock of the day,
that's insane.
which I was going to go a little off subject because you've been on a couple of interviews and people ask for like a lock or something. And I thought for sure you were going to say there's no such thing as a lock.
And I didn't say that?
No, I wish you would though. Cause I think a lot of those people go on there and like,
what did I say?
You just kind of like, you didn't give a lock. You said like that this is what I think is gonna like this is what I would bet on.
Okay.
But I would say there's no such thing as a lock.
I make fun of the term lock because it's laughable.
Yeah.
Anybody that says it's a lock, that's a joke.
Yeah, locks are dumb. If it's a lock, bet 100 units.
You bet, yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
No,
10 I see like
honestly,
10,
if mathematically it's a lock, you should bet the whole bankroll.
I see like bet 10 units, it's a lock. I think yeah,
they're not betting 10 units.
Then nobody ever shows their ticket when they say like anything's a lock or like a 10-unit bet. Like, show me your ticket that you bet at least $1,000.
There's nothing a lock unless you have insider information, like somebody's cheating or something.
Yeah.
And even if you have pocket aces and you're up against 7-2 offsuit, the worst hand in poker, it's the 7-2 offsuit still 12% chance of taking you out. So you still don't want to put all your money in with pocket aces.
I mean, that UFC fight with those two girls that pair, I think it was like plus the girls plus 800.
I know. Parrish is like, steep. I like the other girl.
He likes that one. Yeah. And it ended up, he ended up winning it.
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing as a lock unless you said, unless there's you got insider information, which we had a buddy that played professional baseball. I wish we could have got some from him. I doubt he doesn't talk very much, so he wanted to give us anything. But
yeah, that would have been cool.
Well, we need to know what that is. Who is this?
He doesn't play anymore.
Dale Thayer?
Yeah. Oh, I know him.
Yeah.
My best friend played baseball with him when he was younger. I went to a Lake Elsinore Storm game.
Yeah.
Where we sat out by the bullpen and Dale came up and just like hung out with us the whole time because he was like a relief pitcher.
Yeah, he was.
Wait, did we tell that story on the podcast yet about what? Because Jake and I used to go all the time watch him play
to Storm games.
Yeah.
Or Padre games.
To the Storm and Padres.
Okay.
I went to a few Padres games. But I always felt bad asking him for tickets. Like, because you're friends with Duddy and Dirty Heads. Like, it's like, I don't want to like ask you for tickets. Do. Yeah. Like, so Dale would give us if I ever called, he would give me tickets, but he told me his wife did, because she would always sit when she told me like random people just a coach that he had for one season when he was called him up for tickets all the time. And I'm like, I do not want to be that guy. And I'm like,
yeah.
At first I didn't at all. And then I realized that was no big deal because they were just going to go to waste.
Yeah.
And then I started going regularly, and he actually let us go on the field to go in the dugout and watch the fireworks. And
yeah,
it was after the game.
So I do want to get back to what I was saying about the no, not at all. Just about real quick, I want to reiterate what you should do as a client of You Bet Smart. Let's say you're 22, you have $1,000, you put it on one site. Once it gets to 2,000, split that up into two sites. Once it gets to 3,000, split it up into 3, and so on, all the way up to 10,000, split up into 10. You can get up to as many as like 20 different sites if you're like going offshore on sites. So you should just keep on doing that. That actually helps out in a couple different ways. One is you get the best line. So when we put out a line, you're like, I got an account for that book.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna get the best line. So you're gonna make a lot more money. It is insane how much more money you make if you get the best line over time.
Huge difference. Huge.
It literally can be the difference between making money and losing money. It is so important.
Yeah.
The other thing is if you have a bunch of different accounts, you diversify your accounts, especially if you're doing if you're in California and you have offshore accounts. If not all of your money is in one account, let's say that account decides to close your account and take all your money.
Maybe they seize your account and they think you're a gambling circle.
You have other accounts. So they only took away 10% of your bankroll.
Yeah.
So there's multiple factors on why you should diversify your money into different accounts. It's so important. So as fast, I would start out with 1,000 if you can. 1,000, and then every time you get to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, split it up into all the different accounts. And then before you know it, you got 10,000 accounts and 15 different accounts. Doesn't seem like it, but you got a $150,000 bankroll. I know this is crazy. If you're a 22-year-old and you're listening to this right now, you're thinking like, I'm not going to get to that, but like, give yourself time. Let's say by the time you're 30 or 35, all of a sudden you have $150,000 spread out across like 15 accounts. And then if you make 95% that year, that's a salary.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people want to get rich quick with anything, and they kind of look at sports betting as like, well, I'm only making like $50 a week off my $1,000, and it's like, that's amazing. You're making 5% a week off of your investment, unless you pick a stock that you get lucky on. That it doesn't happen. And it's very hard though, because they're expecting to get rich quick. And there's a few of our clients that have hit me up and like, I'm taking a break. Like, cause another thing that they're doing is they're doing other bets too. And they're cause they want that. And they're hitting some of those, and they'll bet, they've got a $1,000 bankroll, and then they'll bet like $100 on a game, and like 3 or 4 of those will hit, and then they'll be like, well, I'm gonna bet 500 on a game, and then that one loses, and then I get a text like, hey, I'm taking like a little bit of a break now. And it's like, just stick to the system. You can do your own bets, but don't put out that type of money. That type of money is just, it's eventually going to come back and bite you in the ass if you're putting out that in terms of your bankroll.
You should definitely take a break if that happens. You should take a lifetime break of betting $500 on a $1,000 bankroll.
Yeah, there's no time you should do that.
Yeah, that is insane. But I just wanted to get that across. I thought of a third reason of why you should diversify across different bankrolls. So the first one is like, you can that's how you build it up. You get the best line. Second one is you
risk protection, right?
Risk protection. So the account, just in case one of these like crazy accounts, like what happened with that poker account, what was that?
Poker Stars, or I don't know. I had a couple $1,000s locked up in a European poker exchange. The FBI like locked up the money
and seized all the money, right?
Yeah, from like they did a handful of sites at the same time, and I had 2 or 3K on there, and I thought it was gone forever, and they sent me a check. Like maybe a year or 2 later, and they just can't accept U.S. money anymore.
It was a check with, obviously it was what you had in your account at that time. It wasn't
exactly.
like, here's your initial buy-in back.
No. Thankfully, no. I honestly thought that money was gone.
But you got your money back.
Yeah, I got my money back.
Yeah, so, and then the third one, can't remember what that is, but we'll get back to you in a later position.
Sorry.
It's not your guys' fault. I should remember. It'll come back to me one of these days. We'll episode like 42, we'll get right back into that. All right, well, let's move on. We haven't really got far in this episode. What do you guys want to do? I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. Do you guys want to skip news and go to that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And just go to the upgrade reports?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I think that's a great idea, because
let's do it.
We are getting deep into this one. You got some upgrades on your systems?
Yeah, the bot progress is coming along. I would say that I have the MLB pitcher, the MLB hits, the MLB total bases, and then there's also how many hits a pitcher gives up. So there's a new market, and then there's actually like one other market. I think hits, runs, and RBIs. So basically, before I even open those ones up, I want to wait till the ones that I do have open are working right, because the strikeouts has always been the bread and butter. Once that one's hot, then I'll tend to open up another one, and I don't know. Just I want to start off real conservative, and if the bots are doing well, then I'll open up all the other markets. So I don't know. Long story short, still making progress, and at some point we'll we'll have Jason on soon. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, and Jason, he's gonna come on in a future episode and talk about like your guys' systems and your bots.
Yeah,
that you guys put
exactly.
together.
Yeah,
And he works on the bots and putting everything into automation.
yeah, this guy's amazing. He's definitely an asset for us, and I look forward to having him on and picking his brain on how he attacks everything.
I got a question with this. Then I know you guys are thinking about getting into UFC betting at some point. So on Prize Picks was basically like a parlay kind of thing. I've been talking to Parrish, our UFC expert, and you could pick who's going to win the fight or whatever. But I found one which was how long the fight is going to go. And it gives you the under over on the fights. Can you bet that on? I should have looked this up, but can you bet that on a regular betting site? You can bet how long the fights are going to go.
Like over 2.5 rounds.
No, down to the minute. It's like
the
24, and I asked him last night. I was like, pick all of these fights that I could pick off here.
You have to pick the minute and the round.
If it's going to go over or under, like let's say 24.5.
Oh wow!
And
okay.
I gave him all the fights, and he picked the 3 that he liked the best, and they all 3 hit. And I was wondering if that's like a good market to maybe look at inside those. That's like kind of like a player prop a little bit on more than like a team bet. That would be like picking who's going to win the fight.
Kind of it. Oh, there's so much potential for the MMA markets. And I was just talking with him last night and we were brainstorming, and he had a really nice night. He said he's doubled his account in a month or two. And I don't know, he's onto something, and the MMA bot is coming along too. So we're making progress on that.
Yeah, so maybe the over-unders will come. It's kind of like an over-under bet.
It is an over.
with
I guess
time.
it is kind of a team bet then.
Yeah, it's more of like a team bet.
That is,
yeah. But with MMA, like, I don't know. We get a little cloudy with when we split up teams and players. Because
or golf, because you've taken on golf.
In golf, it's players.
Yeah.
You can't like say that's a team bet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting. It gets a little cloudy on like where teams and players go, but that definitely is a prop bet, because in like technically I would assume that like MMA saying which guy is going to win is actually like a team bet, but then the prop bets are all the other shit.
Yeah, like he's going to finish him by an arm bar. Or something.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Because that's all considered propositions.
I agree.
Because I was looking through, because he did the week before we picked like who was gonna win. I did like a fantasy one on DraftKings, like, and we did pretty good on it. And then this one was on Prize Picks, and I was like, well, this is interesting. Like how long the fights are gonna go, because a lot of these fights are gonna go to the distance. So like the two of them he won were 24.5 minutes was basically like the entire fight. And then the other one was like under 9 minutes.
It depends too on the weight class. Actually, heavyweights, it's like over 60, almost 66% of the time, it doesn't go the distance because they knock each other out.
And that's another good way of finding a bet that's like worth what the juice is. Like so in some bets, like remember that Bo Nickel bet where it was like minus 1,500 or whatever,
or more,
but you can like bet on, I think that one was 2.5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
If I remember correctly, like that's a better way of finding like the minus 110.
Yeah.
Bet
so much
in those propositions.
Very true.
So maybe one day we can have a prop or a bot on that.
Dude, that'd be fucking really cool.
Yeah, I think that we should move on to mailbag.
Okay.
What do you guys think? I mean, we've already like, Jake, you got something?
I wanted to bring something up just because I thought it was a little funny for the bloopers and blunders, like a potential new segment where we just talk about funny stuff that happened in sports. And something that was kind of funny, the Kentucky Derby is going on, and I was talking to Rigo about it, and he was saying that he thought that there was a clever name that somebody came up with called One Good Trip Away from Getting Lucky. And then I thought that was clever, so I tried to look it up, and I couldn't find that horse's name anywhere. And then I thought about it. I'm like, wow, what if this is one of the 7 horses that died? And so, like, maybe they should change the name as One Good Trip Away from Not Getting Lucky.
For sure. When I see One Trip Away from Getting Lucky, I think of Vegas. and not for gambling.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, hopefully the horse didn't die, but I don't know.
A lot of those horses died. We had that happen at Santa Anita. All those horses were dying. Like it happens. I didn't know this too.
It actually happens a lot, right?
They shoot them on the racetrack, which is gnarly because I've been to races and I've never seen it, but it happens a lot. So like how many people have seen you don't see it because they cover it up, but you got to hear the gunshot, right?
If you're live,
have you been there?
I've never heard a gunshot before
because
I've bet on horses where I have one bet in particular where like had a really good bet and this horse is coming down the line. He was like 10 lengths ahead of the horse and he was going to win. And his front leg snapped in half, completely just broke in half. And he nosedived in. The jockey went flying and I lost the bet, but I mean, I didn't lose my life like the horse did. But that's what I learned is like he doesn't go past like 30 minutes after that, which is crazy.
Yeah, if a horse breaks its leg, it's done.
He's done.
Because Jake's mom dealt the horses like
Yeah, she
they
used to
break their
rescue
leg.
horses.
Yeah,
From horse races.
No, she used to rescue horses that were just gonna get put down. Or
yeah.
whatever,
We
so-
went down there one time and did that. Like worked with the horses. Him and I.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. Though.
What
know.
if the horse falls and breaks its leg? They shoot the horse and the jockey.
I think we would lose all jockeys. I think the jockeys are. I wouldn't be a jockey.
It probably happens a lot, right?
Yeah, it does happen.
It
Well,
does.
that's what was happening at I think Santa Anita. Like a bunch of horses were dying. I guess it happens somewhat frequently, and just people started paying attention to it. But we'll get into that another time. But like horses, if they break their leg, they're done. Like they can't.
If this gets out to be too big of a thing, it could be like the SeaWorld thing to where like protesters will come out and then horse racing is done.
That's what basically when it was happening at Santa Anita, what happened. I'm pretty sure some races got shut down because of protesters.
Is that right?
But it hasn't become a nationwide thing.
It just has to like catch on. And then
it just needs the proper hashtag and again, everyone will show up there.
If a horse transitions from male to female, do they get shot? Don't answer that. All right, let's move on. So that's a heavy hitter. Mailbag. What do we got for questions for mailbag?
This is actually from me and another person, but
You wrote
I
us?
worded it a little bit better than they worded it. So sometimes because you guys do team bets and prop bets, it's two separate people betting it. And some of the bets seem like the antithesis to each other. So it'll be like Washington Nationals are going to lose, but their starting pitcher is going to go over in strikeouts. I know it seems like kind of like they do kind of correlate with each other, but to me, if I'm looking at a game and they've already got those odds together, if both those happen, I would think the advantage would be that they're only one of those bets are going to win, so they would cancel each other out basically, and then you'd lose a little bit off the odds that you bet on it. You guys gotta.
I have a response if you want.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Jake.
So I would look at it as obvious. They do have a correlation. That's interesting that you brought that up because pitchers are very highly correlated with wins. So if a pitcher has more strikeouts than the line suggests, they're more likely to have a win for the team. So I see that there's a contrast at times, but we're looking at it completely different from independent markets. And sometimes they're going to be in line with each other. Sometimes they're not. Obviously, we probably want them to be more in line with each other, but then you almost have a positive correlation where you might have too much pointing one direction, and if one goes wrong, they both go wrong. So in a way, it's almost like a hedge, how I look at it for that specific example. So like, let's say I'm saying over strikeouts and he's saying the other team or whatever.
Yeah, it basically would be like if a guy you're saying under strikeouts, but he's picking that team to also win. It's just strikeouts, which isn't the ultimate. Like you strike out 2 guys and
exactly
play a game.
And pitchers only go for 5 or 6 innings, so it's not completely indicative whether they're going to win or lose. But there is a correlation with pitcher strikeouts. So I would say, on average, I don't think we go against each other very often, but I do know it happens.
It happened like 3 days in a row.
Okay.
And I wanted to bring it up, but save it for the pod.
Yeah.
And then someone else texted me about it. And I was like, yeah, that's a good question, because I've been wondering that. What do you
can count it? You can count it as a hedge, but if it makes you feel uncomfortable, go with the player prop. That's what I would do. That's the straight up answer.
Why would you go with the player prop? Because
historically player props have won 60% of the time, like over the last 10 years, and team bets have won 55% of the time over the last 10 years. So, I mean, it does depend on the juice, whatever the juice is, because you got to put that juice, like the -140, the -130, -110, you got to put that into the equation to see where it is on the 60% to 55% scale, the percentage. But in the long run, like generally speaking, just always go with the player prop if you don't want to bet both. If you're like,
I don't mean to cut you off. I do like the hedge though too, because let's say I'm wrong about the pitcher and he actually gets over or less than the strikeouts, then Snacky's pick is more likely to win. So
you've only lost like 0.25.
Yeah, instead of having it both on one. So I don't know. I wouldn't frown away from it just because you see opposing like bets. I think that's a great great observation that they're bringing that up. But I wouldn't frown away from it. If you're not comfortable, stay away. But I personally wouldn't stay away from it just because of that. Or
you can pick whichever bet you can get.
Yeah, that's what actually I think I'm getting from this is whatever one has the odds that match what they got put out.
Whatever's closer.
Yeah. Okay.
Which, yeah, it's probably going to be, if that's the case, it's probably going to be more leaning towards teams.
That's what I was just going to say.
But if you can get the player prop one at that value, like you got to jump on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, that's it this week.
Great question.
It's not on our notes, but I want to get into Chris's corner. Do you have any like updates for social media?
Oh, social media.
Or pole position too.
Yeah, I'll go into social media and then we'll go into pole position. So social media, a funny thing happened. So we've been trying to get, like, when I first started this with Jake and Scott came aboard, the ultimate guest that they wanted was Pete Rose, right? So it started this thing. So I've seen other people do it and be like day one of asking blah, blah, blah to come on the show. So I started with Pete Rose, and around day 4, some guy wrote me something about Pete Rose. Should I say what they said about him?
Let's do it.
They said you want a pedophile on your show. And I was like, what the fuck? I've never heard that before. So I went and looked it up, and it's a murky case. It was the 70s. There was a girl that he hooked up with that may or may not have been of age, but he never got convicted of anything or even charged with anything. So whatever. It was the 70s. It's a little weird. Like, I don't care. So I just ignored him.
And we're talking about sports betting.
We're talking about sports betting. Like,
we're not supporting anything that he did outside of sports.
We would have OJ Simpson on here, and we're not talking about that he's a murderer, because he is, but we're not going to talk about that. So I did it in day 7. It was yesterday. The guy wrote, he's like, "Oh, you're still trying to get that pedophile on?" And so I wrote him back, and I was like, well, only one pedophile's responded so far, because he's the only one that responded to anything, and he hasn't wrote me back since then. But yeah, I don't know what this guy's heart. How he knows that I tweeted it the first time and the second time means he's literally following like Pete Rose's like name, and like how many other people has he contacted about that?
Or
like,
is he one of our followers? Maybe.
Yeah, or maybe he's a pedophile. I mean, that's what I
Yeah.
It's very
Usually, if you're accusing that hard,
yeah,
you
it's
got something that
it's
you're guilty
projecting.
about.
Yeah,
He's projecting.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was funny, but everything's going good. We put out I said earlier, we put out a couple videos on shorts on YouTube that done great, putting out some on Instagram. They're also doing really well on there. Yeah, we're eventually going to put out a full video podcast. We got our cameras set up in here, which I think are good angles. And yeah, everything's going good. We're approaching 2,000 followers on both of our accounts. It's definitely slowed down trying to get followers on Twitter. Because you get a bunch, and then I'm not doing it as much as I used to. Like every day, there's just like this whole thing you have to go to, like retweeting and following people. But yeah, we're growing on every social media site.
What's over 2,000 now, or close to it?
I think the You Bet Smart one, because we have the check mark on there, is growing faster. That one's like 1,900, I think now.
Because we're verified on that one.
Yeah, I think that is what, if you're verified, does help.
Okay.
And then the podcast one is like at like almost 1,700.
That one's not verified.
But I just gotta say, that one's not verified. When I took this over 2 months ago, I think the You Bet Smart one had like 100 people.
Yeah.
And the podcast one had 0 because I had to start one for that. So I think the growth I get.
You're doing great.
Chris
yeah.
might be doing better than us.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's going to be the Chris podcast.
He's I mean, what is that? Plus 2,000%? I mean, that's way better than
his graph is
95%.
My graph is fucking killing it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get to 1 million before you guys do,
I don't
though.
know.
After this little tail, we're all like
You never know.
slowing down right now. But it's now that I'm not doing, because I used to put out the bets and like I'd make them on this site called Canva and do like graphics and shit. It would only take like 5 or 10 minutes for each one, but it was time consuming. So now I'm just putting out what we do on Dub Club, screenshot. So I'll have more time to like gain followers again. So,
and that's a perfect segue. Go to Dub Club, dubclub.win, sign up. It's you get a steal. It's $10 a month. Anybody who had the $50 a month in the past, all of our clients, hit us up. I'm actually gonna hit all of you guys up. You're gonna get free months for the next. I think they should get free months for the next like 5 months, which would equate the $50 per month.
Yeah.
And then everybody signing up now is $10 a month. I mean, it's a steal. $10 a month. Dubclub.win. Search for You Bet Smart, and then follow us on Twitter and TikTok at
You Bet Smart and You Bet Smart Pod. It's easy to find, and YouTube, You Bet Smart. Just go, and anywhere you want to find us, just put in the letter U, BETSMART. We're on almost everything.
And if you want a free month, if you subscribe to the You Bet Smart YouTube, hit us up, get a free month.
Yep.
Do you have a recommendation?
Well,
I do.
Hold on. We got to go one more thing. We got the poll first.
Oh, let's hear it.
We got to do a poll position.
Okay.
Pole position. So we did the poll last week, and I can get the exact numbers here if you give me 1 second.
Who did we say that we were gonna? Who did you think was gonna win?
So the bet was, or the poll was, how much money would you pay for your favorite team to win the championship? And there was no money, $100, $500, more than 500. I said no money. Jake said $100, and Scott said 500.
It's a lock, $100.
If I could have picked like over 1,000 or over 2,000, I would have picked that.
Would you lock it up though?
I lock everything up. I love locking it up and pulling out my key.
Lock it up. Well, anyways, I know who the winner was. The winner was more than $500.
Whoa.
Oh, was it? What was it at?
It was like they won like 46%. So you got 40, somewhere around 40. I think 190 people voted on it. Scott had one where he guessed more than 500, and that was like 47%. Then I came in second with like 24% for no money, and then I think Jake, you didn't place.
Oh my god! I'm gonna have to help create a Twitter bot to see if I can get it to vote on me.
Yeah, you should. I'm bummed because when I went on Millie Goats, I thought I was gonna win that poll for the greatest. What was it?
It was the worst injury you could
worst
get.
injury.
Yeah,
and
It
J
didn't
Vibe.
win?
It didn't win. Javi, he has. AK said that Javi has a fan following. They love him. So whatever he's won like 8 times.
No way.
In the pole position.
So rigged.
So
And
there
they're
was a
posted.
little thing that was a discrepancy in this because like half the people on there were like, well, yeah, I'd bet more than $500 because I would just bet whatever, or I would pay more than $500 because I would just bet whatever I paid because I'm going to win that back.
Very true.
So I had, so got to be very careful in these polls in the future that we got to clarify that you can't whatever like little loopholes that people are going to find because all our followers are
if you count on me to find the loophole.
Yeah.
I'm always gonna. Do we have any loopholes in this week's?
No, I think this one. So I'm going to give you guys 2 options here that we should choose to do. So the first one would be, because we're talking about Pete Rose, should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? Or the other question would be, will Pete Rose get in the Hall of Fame?
So those are the 2 that we're going to decide on.
Yeah, we need to decide what you guys want to do.
We can always do a 2-parter. The first one, like leading into it, is should he? And then if it like has a good response, we could say like, will he?
Okay. Yeah. So we're
let's
gonna
do
bet
should
on
he.
2. So should he?
I like should better right now.
Okay. So what do you think? Should he? Yeah, we're all gonna
Yes,
say yes.
of
Yeah.
course.
So we all got yes for should
'Cause
he.
he-
But
bet-
we're betting on what everybody else will say.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're betting on what everyone else will say.
I say over 60% say yes.
So we got to say what the over under is. I like that
Yeah.
because we have a yes no. We
Yeah.
can't all. We
Yeah.
shouldn't. So what's the over under? That's great. Okay, so you're saying 60. You're saying over 60.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you got, Chris? You got something? I actually wish in the future I want to know what the
Yeah, I told
question is
yeah,
because in this one I want to think about it.
yeah.
No,
too
rather
bad.
than being on the spot.
You just gotta be emotional about it.
Okay. What's my emotion?
I'll say yeah, over net. So how does that work? Like if I say over 55%.
Well,
like,
maybe one of us can. You can do under 40.
No,
or
I
Hey,
say
40
we
to
just
60.
say
You go
like,
59, I go 61.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna get into a Price is Right
And
situation
Jake's
here.
fucked.
No, I say we just say because that's gonna get into the weeds with it. Like, let's just say like I think should he will win on this. Yes, we'll win on it.
We're just gonna do yes. Okay.
Yeah, because we'll get into some weird parts trying to figure out. Well,
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go no.
you're gonna go no.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll go no. He's
Okay.
not gonna win.
And
I
then-
think it's gonna be
And then the second question will be, will he? I'll do 2 this week.
You don't think he should be in?
No.
He's
I don't
just-
think the people will vote
Yeah.
that he should be in
Okay.
because that's what we're voting on. It's not yes or no. I think he should be in. I mean, hashtag let Pete in. Like we want Pete to be in. That's our whole thing. We want him to be in on this podcast.
Okay.
But I think that people are gonna say no, he shouldn't get in. And I think it's gonna be really close. I think it's gonna be like 53 to 47%.
Okay.
And then I definitely think that will he get in will be no.
I'm gonna vote yes again for will he get in? Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Will he get in ever or?
Yeah. Yes, it's
we can-
whatever.
We'll put the cutoff at 2042.
Will he get in? I mean, there's an interesting question there. Will he get in after he dies? Because I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to die and he's going to get in. So no, we're just doing will he get in at any time
That's a different poll though, right?
until the aliens come back and show us that we built this society. Will Pete Rose get in?
Yeah. So we're doing should he get in?
No, we
first.
already did should. No,
Okay.
will he get in?
All right. Will I say
What the public says.
no?
No. Okay, we got 2 no's.
2 no's
then?
and a yes.
All right.
And then 2 yeses and a no on the should.
Okay.
All right. I like it. That's fast. It's coming up fast. It's growing fast. That's one of my favorite segments.
Pete, if you're
On the-
listening, we're trying to get you in, brother.
Yeah. Hashtag let Pete in. We'll put everything on social media. We need to talk about getting him in. Let's move on to what's coming up in the future for the podcast. What do we got next week, Jake?
Yeah, I briefly touched upon it earlier. We're going to be interviewing Jason, our CTO, who is an expert in data science and machine learning, and we'll be able to pick his brain on working on the bots and scraping data and predictions and all kinds of stuff that he's been helping. So definitely an asset, like I said earlier, and I can't wait to hear from him.
Nice. And in a couple weeks, we're gonna have a lawyer on, friend of Chris's. He's gonna come on and dive into the history of sports betting in the United States and the history of sports betting on a state level in California.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait for that. I think we're gonna learn a lot.
He already sent us like his report of everything he's been researching, so it should be super interesting.
Yeah, we got a 7-page deposition that we're gonna have to answer to in the future. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So don't forget, again, let's say it again. Check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and subscribe to this podcast. We'll give you a free month if you subscribe and show us that you rated us 5 stars on the podcast. This was a good one.
Yeah. Always a pleasure, guys.
Bye.
That was great. I gotta pee again, guys. Yeah.